Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out working in Europe versus working in USA, what no one talks about. We're going to talk about it. Does he consider UK Europe? I consider UK Europe. I don't think some of UK considers themselves Europe, but this seems like maybe UK people might be interested. Maybe it's applicable. I don't know. Let's watch it. Oh. Ooh.
Hey there, fellow travelers, or should I say
Mark.
fellow worker abroaders. Mark here with
Not me.
Wolter's World, and today what I'll talk about are some of the differences that Americans notice when they come to work in Europe. Because a lot of people, their dream is, I'm going to move to Europe, I'm going to work there, and everything's going to be great. And it can be. I've actually lived in Europe for like 12 years, 13 years, and worked in a lot of different places. I worked in Lithuania, I worked in Portugal, I worked in Austria. I've gone all over, worked with the locals, been part of the team, had to pay the taxes and all those things. And I kind of want to go through some of the differences that American workers really kind of notice when they come to work in Europe. And sometimes you'll see the jokes that, oh, they get all the vacation time, haha. Yeah, that's true. But there's also some more serious things as well, okay? And I want to start with the one that people talk about the most. You have so much more time off when you work in Europe than when you work in the US. And I'm not just talking the vacation time they give you, I'm talking about just normal holidays they give you off, which is really nice because you can have a much better work-life balance when you're in Europe than in the US, okay? Because you just have more time to be you. You have more time to be with your family. You have more time to exist on your own without just having work be everything. And that's one of those nice things to it. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that people notice is just that amount of free time you do have. Because another thing that Americans notice when they come to Europe is work.
Hang on. I think that is also applicable to the UK, from what I've heard. Y'all got a lot more time off. I think we get like 2 weeks a year. Y'all get like 5 to 6 weeks a year. Is that right? That's a big difference. In America, you work at least 8 hours a day. If your boss wants you to stay late, you gotta do it. You gotta. Because you might not have a job. If you don't. Especially if you're work for hire, forget it. You just lose the customer. This video is going to make me upset, y'all. I can already feel it.
Stops when work stops. If work is 9 to 5, you work 9 to 5. You can be mid-sentence, it's 5 o'clock. We're out.
See?
And no one holds it against you. There's no like, oh, we need to stay in for the team. No, we're pulling an all-nighter tonight. We need you to work an extra 10 hours this weekend. No, that stuff doesn't happen here. I mean, it can happen, but it doesn't really happen. It's much more, oh, work's over. We didn't get it done. We didn't get it done. Moving on till Monday. I got stuff to do this weekend. Bye. And that
Wow, we didn't get it done. We didn't get it done. Yo, this is what I was just talking about. He says when work stops, work stops. In America, even if you go home, you're still on call. You're still on call. It sucks. Thinking back to my early work life from when I was like 20, they take advantage of you so intensely. They hold it over your head. Oh, well, we're doing this thing now. You gotta be here for the team, you know? Oh, prove to me you're dedicated, you know? You don't want to get let go. I had to, oh my God, Joe, I'm just thinking about this. Ugh. I used to work at a recording studio in Atlanta. And the hours were crazy because sometimes the sessions would start at 6 p.m. and then you're working till 6 a.m. Usually they'd start at noon and you go to midnight. That was the normal thing. That was it. And then every once in a while, the management would call a meeting. And even if you have a day off, you have to come to the meeting, right? But then the management would just say, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. But they'd get everybody a list of crap they have to do, and they expect you to stay there. Even if it's your day off, they expect you to stay there after the meeting and start doing this crap. It's my day off. I just worked 14 hours yesterday. I slept for 2 hours so I could be at this dumb meeting. This could have been an email. Let me sleep. Oh, well, if you don't do this, you know, that session with Elton John, I'm going to give it to somebody else, you know. You better, you know, like, prove to me you're dedicated. It's like constant having to prove yourself. Also, no health insurance. None. No, nothing. No retirement, nothing. Work for hire. Okay, moving on.
That's it. There's the boundaries that are here. Like, work is not everything. You don't get defined by it, which is really kind of cool. So you're not staying late. You're not working the weekends. You're only there when the hours you're supposed to work, which is really nice. And I will say another thing you notice is work is a bit slower because you don't have that going overtime, doing all this stuff. things do take more time, and that's where a lot of Americans sometimes get frustrated with their European colleagues, because like, oh, can we just knock this project out and move on? Oh, why are you taking so long? Why you have a lunch break? You have a coffee break? Can we just move through? And so they get you guys get that frustrated with the kind of the slow work kind of stuff, or at least I would say the not hurry up and rush kind of thing. It's like, hey, we're gonna get it done. We'll get it done. Don't worry about it. And that's the thing.
Right. I totally feel that, or I felt that. I don't anymore. But I remember, like, in the work situation I was just talking about, you want to hurry up and get stuff done so you can have time off, so you can go home, because you're still in deprivation of time off from the past, right? So you're like, let's just hurry up and get this done, because if I don't do it, then they're going to be calling me tomorrow saying, why wasn't this done? Well, like, sleeping.
Is people, they're not worrying about it. It's not like work is everything. And I think that's a big thing to mention, is you are not defined by your work in Europe. In the US, it's like, I live to work. And here in Europe, it's more like I work to pay for the fantastic food. I mean, it's just part of life, but that's not my life. Like, I honestly can say, like, when I did my PhD and master's and stuff, when I did it in Europe, when I look back on it, I don't think of it like I did my PhD in Portugal. It was, oh, I lived in Lisbon. Like, it was a life, and you had that separation, and you're not defined by it. And that's one of those things that's really nice, is that you can be you. Like, that's one of the things I really loved about working here. But one of the things that you'll notice that you...
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I've had a couple career changes in my time. It's a weird feeling when you stop doing one career and move to another, because it is such a big part of the way you think of yourself. Just subconsciously... You think of yourself as this job. This is my identity. When I meet people, this is what I tell them I do. This is who I am. And then suddenly we have a different job. It feels like everything you did in the past is gone. Like you're a whole different person now. You're starting over. It's very strange.
You might not like when you do work in Europe is you're not really truly friends with your coworkers. Now, you can be friendly with your coworkers, and you'll probably more likely to go get drinks on a Friday after work with people, but making that close friendship bond, it's not as much there here in Europe, because a lot of people, they live and work in the city they grew up in. So they have friends since they were little kids. They're still friends with their buddy from kindergarten, first grade, when they're 50 years old, 60 years old, 30 years old, 20 years old, whatever. And therefore, you as a foreigner coming in, it's hard to get into a friendship circle because they already have their friends. And that's why sometimes expats end up leaving destinations that are super cool because they're lonely. You live in a city with millions of people and you don't have friends. And it is really tough. That's why I'm saying sometimes it's easier, if you're going to be an expat in a place, to be an expat in a Paris, a London, a Milan, a Berlin, where a lot of people have come and moved to, but not just international expats coming there, but also people from all over Italy move to Milan. People from all over Germany move to Berlin. So they're looking for friends as well. So it's a little bit easier to make friends. But that is one of those things, is you might have it that you're not really super friends with your colleagues. And some of them you'll still call Herr Wolters after you've been working with them for 30 years. You're still Herr Wolters and not even on a first name sometimes. So do be aware of that. Now, it's not always the case. You can make friends, but I think it is one of those things that's important to mention, because finding that good friend base when you first move abroad is really important, so you have that social connection. Now,
that's something I didn't expect. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm thinking of everywhere that I did work. Usually make friends pretty quick, or you at least get into a clique. I think because these are the people you spend all of your waking hours with. Yeah, interesting. A lot of it, too, is commiserating. You just get together and you complain about your boss. They're the only ones who understand. And so whenever you move to these cities where you don't know anybody, everyone's already taken. Nobody there needs more friends.
The thing that I will definitely tell you is true is, if you come and work in Europe, you do not make anywhere near the same amount of money as you do in the US. Like, that's why a lot of Europeans like going to the US, because they make a lot of money. They can get more stuff. And so you do have that. And so when you think about it, maybe that's something when you think about your retirement, you're thinking...
Is this New York? That is New York. There's the Paramount building. Y'all, I've eaten at this McDonald's. I used to work like down, towards us a block and to the left from this place. I had to walk through this mess.
About, hey, what am I going to do in the future? You have to think about those things. That's why when I have students like, oh, Mark, I want to go work in Europe. Like, all right, well, do you have college loans? Because you still got to pay them off, and you might make as much money to pay it off as fast as you do in the U.S.
Yeah.
But then they're like, yeah, but in Europe we don't pay for our education, so it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, that's why there's a little bit of difference. But the pay gap is a real thing. Like between the U.S. and the EU, I mean, I won't lie to you. Like some places you do get paid better. Switzerland, Germany, England, you get paid really well. Like those are like, okay, comparable, you're doing okay, but go work in Portugal, go work in Eastern Europe. Like the money is, literally like a fraction of what you make in the U.S. So that's one thing I think is important to mention. However, you do get more with your money when you live in Europe, when you work in Europe, because you do have more benefits. Maybe you get paid a 13th month out of the year, or sometimes a 14th month out of the year. So those there. Maybe you get credits for childcare, or you get credits for, transportation allowances. So there's a little bit more like freebies in Europe that they give with you versus just,
awesome.
Oh, look, a pizza party, thanks, boss, that you get in the U.S. And kind of looking at things.
So many stupid pizza parties at the office. So many. Hey, y'all, we're having pizza today. Great. Thanks. Pizza. Again. Yeah, this is making me sad.
In general, I know when I worked in Europe, I made less money than I did when I worked in the U.S., but I will say life in Europe is cheaper. I mean, living, existing, loving life is just cheaper in Europe than it is in the U.S. I mean, that's why I tell people all the time, if you're going to go on vacation, once you get to Europe, it is cheaper to enjoy Europe than it is to enjoy the U.S. I mean, I'm here in Torino, which is a relatively expensive city in Italy, and it's still cheaper than going to Orlando for me.
Really? Show me on a map. Where's Torino? Yo, Tino? No. Torino. Oh, that's where the Shroud of Turin is. Oh. Okay. Not too shabby. Okay. I've never been there. I've never been to Italy. I've never been.
Vacation, going out to eat, it's better than there, right?
Oh,
so
look at that.
you think about that, it's like, yeah, I don't make as much, but I don't need as much money as well, because you are more in the city and more things are going on, right? And that's why it's important to mention your transportation to work is a lot different. It's not a car-based society in Europe. You are switching to public transportation. Now, if you worked in the big city in the U.S., probably you might already use the L in Chicago or the trains, in New York. But public transportation isn't a thing in the U.S. And when you come to Europe, it becomes integrated into your thing. So you're learning when I need to take the bus, when does that metro go by. I remember when I lived in Berlin, I knew exactly where my S-Bahns were going, and I'm like, I gotta get up that escalator. Like, it's definitely different than, I gotta sit in the traffic jam to get to work. Now, don't get me wrong, you can get a car, and believe me, you drive in Europe, you're gonna be in a traffic jam every day because there's not a lot of space, but also just to get into work is a different experience. And you'll notice there's a reason why in the US, our cars have nice cup holders and really good stereo systems, because we sit in our cars all the time, we're drinking on our way, whereas here in Europe, it's a shorter commute, but also with the crazy drivers and so many more packed things, you don't have time to change the channel. You don't have time to focus on what you're driving. Now, another money thing
Yeah, I hate driving to work. I like taking public transportation because I feel like I'm part of the city. You see all this other stuff. When you're sitting in your car, it's like an impossible race. Even if you're not in a hurry, I feel like I'm racing and losing, and it makes me upset. And then I'll see fast food on the side of the road and I'll be like, oh, I'm going to get a cheeseburger to make myself feel better. Get a little bit of happiness, some dopamine, because I'm so sad about traffic. And it makes you eat worse. It's convenient. It's a different lifestyle. It's so weird.
You don't have time to change the channel. You don't have time to focus on what you're driving. Now, another money thing you'll notice is a bit different is taxes. Yeah, you're going to pay a lot more taxes when you are here in Europe than you are in the U.S. In general, I'm just going to say that if you're making decent money, a lot more comes out, especially if you're going to Sweden or Norway, Finland. Like, taxes do get a bit higher. So that's one of those things you'll notice in your check that a lot more is missing when you're working in Europe, but you do get more stuff with it. So that's one of those things like, I do have relatively cheap healthcare or free public healthcare. Yeah, maybe the NHS isn't the greatest, but it's included with living here. So I guess that's okay. But I will say, great. For the things you're not going to like, the biggest one that Americans have...
Hang on. What percentage of taxes? Like, what's the average percentage of income tax in USA? 14.5%. Okay. What about in UK? Not getting a clear number because it is progressive, they say. Oh, this says 18 to 20%. That's not a huge difference. Y'all, I would pay 6% more for free healthcare?
Is European bureaucracy. Like, I know we've got the DMV in the US, and that's our one example of like annoying bureaucracy, but oh my gosh, try to get internet at your house. If you're in France, try to schedule a pickup of that Amazon package with a delivery driver. It's insane, right?
Really?
The levels of bureaucracy, the level of things you have to go through, the hoops you jump through, the forms you sign, the stamps you need. You know, and a lot of it's these catch-22s, like, oh, hey, I need to get an apartment, but in order to get an apartment, I need a bank account. But in order to get a bank account, I need an apartment where I have an address. The bureaucracies here are such next level that for Americans, they get very frustrated with it. Now, another thing I think is important to mention about your workplace.
Y'all, I would get so frustrated about stuff like that. It's so annoying. Because it doesn't make sense. Like he's saying, you gotta have a bank account to get an apartment. You gotta have an apartment to get a bank account. What are you supposed to do? What do you do?
Actually here in Europe is don't expect everyone to fall in line with the boss. Like, the boss isn't necessarily God. Now, some parts of Europe, the boss is kind of like a godlike figure, but in general, you have a lot more discussion, a lot more consensus at work than in the US, where it's kind of like, well, the boss says this, so why are we even debating it? Here, you do have that open debate. And for some Americans, they're like, oh my gosh, he's talking back to the boss. What are you doing? You're gonna get fired. No, you have much more discussion that's here. And I think one of the reasons why you have that is, another difference is you don't worry about getting fired in Europe like you do in the US. Like,
Y'all, I resist authority. I would talk to my boss. If I think the boss has a bad idea, I let him know. So this would work for me. I would like that.
I think I do a great job where I teach, but every year I'm still worried that I'm not going to get asked to come back the next year. I mean, it's very much a worrisome thing. Like, you have the at-will work environment at the US that you never know, right? Whereas in Europe, you have a lot more protections. Like, you're not worried that you're going to get fired because your boss had a bad day, because your union is there for you, or there's protections by law that if you do get fired, they have to pay you for a year or two or something like that. Like, those kind of things make a difference. Mothers, they're not worried about having kids because they have protection for maternity leave.
Right.
And they get paid maternity leave, paid paternity leave. I mean,
That's, y'all, I know several people, women, who have had children, taken maternity leave, and then when they come back, the business waits a little while, and then they fire them. They fire them, which is illegal. But they do it just to where it's legal, just the right amount of time. It's pretty messed up.
those kind of things make a difference, so you do feel more comfortable, like you can share your true feelings about a project, hey, what do we need to do? And so you have a different mentality. And also, I think another difference is the mentality of the workforce. It's not as much like grind and the hustle and I need my side hustle kind of stuff like you have in the US. It's much more of that laid back attitude, that laissez-faire attitude when it comes to work. And then I want to mention one thing that I did notice when I worked in Europe is you're not going to have as much diversity in your workforce here in Europe as you do in the US. Just because Europe in general, like you're in Italy, it's full of Italians, so there's a lot more Italians, a lot less diversity in the workers than you have in the US, was a melting pot of places. Now, if you go to like bigger cities, if you're in Milan or Paris or London, you're gonna have more of that. Like, the UK has much more diversity, France has much more diversity, but that's one of those things when you work, you'll notice that there's not a lot of diversity sometimes in your workplace when you're here in Europe. So if you've been an expat...
Yeah, that's interesting. I used to live in Atlanta, and the population, I think, is 52% black. And I didn't really notice it. Like, you don't, like, I guess you get used to it. Then when I moved to Los Angeles, it was like, where are all the black people? Where are they? This is strange. I bet that would be even more so in Europe. I feel like that's something I should cut out, but I'm going to leave it in. Maybe. I don't know.
Working in Europe, tell us, where have you worked? What was your experience? And what were some of the differences that you had? And don't worry, I'm going to do a video on this about what Europeans find strange about working in the US. Like, boss, why do I have to be here 2 hours early and stay 2 hours late? Yeah, we're going to talk about that as well. Anyway, I wish you all the best. I'll say bye from here in Torino.
Bye,
and
Mark.
also, I loved working abroad. I mean, literally, it was like 10, 15 years, okay? So
That's
I would
awesome.
definitely do it again because I loved working in Europe. And I wish you all the best. Au revoir, or tschüss, or auf Wiedersehen, or arrivederci, or ciao, or whatever. Whichever bye you want in Europe, Go ahead and say it. Bye.
How about, all right?
It's been a long day.
Y'all be sure to go to Wolter's World and like and subscribe. Yeah, I'm curious to see how Europeans experience moving to America. God, they must feel like they're getting shafted every day. You gotta get here early. You gotta stay late. You gotta drive a car in traffic. Gotta pay for that health care. Yeah, bet that's weird. But you get more money. Maybe a little more money. Less taxes, maybe. If you're smart about it. Y'all, I'm hoping for a 4-day work week. I think that would change the world. Right? 4-day work week? Everyone would be so much happier. 3 days off in a row. Come back to work 4 days, then 3 days off. Happiness. I think the world would be a better place. Y'all be sure to go to Wolter's World and like and subscribe. Thanks to my patrons. Thanks to my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me. And I'll see y'all next time. Later.